Hey y'all, welcome. I just it took me a minute to get ready to make this call or to make this recording. It's been a long time coming, and I have my fur baby with me. This is Teddy. He has to sit in a high chair because he has mega esophagus, and it's currently his timeout time. Because he just got finished going outside and drinking water, so he can't drink water like a normal dog, but he loves drinking water so much, and it's also really harmful for him to drink lots of water or whole food, so everything for him has to be prepared like baby food. So he is my support buddy as I tell you my story, as I tell you my coming out story, and how I am no longer a part of the church anymore. I, before we dive in, I do want to let you be aware that there might be a couple trigger warnings in this conversation. So if you ever feel like you need to take a pause or you need to take a break, or if you just feel like, ooh, that's a lot, it's okay. And you can come back whenever you're ready. This video is going to be here for a while, more than likely. So grab your favorite beverage. I will be sipping on sparkling water. I will be sipping sparkling water throughout this because I tend to get a really dry mouth. So pause with me as I take a sip. Okay, so some triggers that might be involved are I have my notes written down. We're going to talk about loss. We're going to talk about death. There is going to be some talk about cancer, religious systems, and deconstructing, suicide ideations, and my own healing with that. Um, Non-religious things like tarot and cards, card readings, spirit decks, animal decks. Um, what else? We're going to talk about spirituality and possibly even about some cults. So, if I haven't scared you off just yet and you are still here with me, welcome. So, if we haven't been formally introduced, my name is Vanessa. I am a member of the alphabet community, as my sister likes to say. I'm a lesbian. I came out, and I'll get into the details. I came out in about to myself 2020, to other people 2021. But you know how there's multiple layers to a coming out story? There's different layers. So I would say formally came out in 2021. Um, and let's see, I'm an entrepreneur. I have been self-employed for over 5 years now, and it has been a challenge. I mean, there are highs and lows with it. Um, but we're not diving all into that right away. And so let's begin by where my story in understanding my sexuality, who I was. So this video will be a long one, just forewarning. So just hang out with me as we go into the journey of my story and my experience. So, um, I guess some background information is where I want to begin. So, I grew up in a religious household. Gosh, from the moment I took a breath. I mean, my family was the kind of family that went to church every single Sunday. We would like get dressed up really nice. Like my mom would have me and my sister, my older sister, we are like 3 years apart. She would get us dressed in matching outfits. And we would, most of the time, my sister would like put her hair in curlers and she would sleep on that shit every Saturday night. And I didn't like that. Um, Probably one of the signs of recognizing within myself that I wasn't a normal person that I saw around me. So, um, we went through so many churches, honestly. We've been through Assembly of God. We've been to like Foursquare. What else? Those that claimed that they were non-denominational, but like weren't accepting of everyone. Growing up, I never have experienced a Catholic church. I think I've experienced like a Baptist church, like if ever going to like, um, summer week vacations or summer schools, whatever they're called, vacation Bible school. I did a couple of those, and usually the Baptist church where I live would host those. And so I remember going to some of those. But Christianity would be the religious system that would best describe my religious upbringing. But like a lot of religions, there's like how would you say branches off of that main religious structure. Um, let's see. So that's oh, and I was very much involved with church growing up. Um, this is kind of embarrassing to share, but I'm just gonna share it. I used to be part of like the when we were at an Assembly of God church, so the very first church that I grew up in. Um, I was on the dancing team, and with the dancing team, you were literally clothed like up to your neck, all the way down to your ankles and to your wrists with clothing. But like this kind of clothing that I wore was like really silky, really heavy, and I even had to wear like pantyhose. I had to wear, oh my God, and also bras when it came to being an individual that grew boobs quicker than everyone else around me. Like, I had to secure those bitches in with as strong of a sports bra as I could find because Lord forbid they shake when I move. That really gets me pissed. Um, and so, and then we would wear like these shiny belts, and we used tambourines, we used streamers, flags, and those flags could be a bitch. I'm talking about the ones that um, the like dance teams in high school use. I don't know their formal name, sorry. But they have like that rubber ball, and then you have to like spin them in your hands. Those things give blisters. Those things do not fucking play. My God. And I was always practicing, and I always wanted to be better because I wanted something to do other than be at home. Um, and I can remember dancing on stage, dancing in between the crowds. Um, and that time of my life, I was around like, apparently I was like super young to join because apparently you couldn't join at the age of 12, but you could join at the age of 13. But because I was so mature for my age, I got in at 12. So just the adult child showing up in me. That's how I got in. We'll get more into that. Okay, so like grew up in a very religious household. Now, what it looked like at home was a completely different story than how my family showed up in church and around people. So, in home life growing up, so we were also very involved in church. My parents, well, me and Kim, our youngest sister, she wasn't very involved because she just wasn't old enough. She was still a baby at the time. And then into being like a toddler. And so there was Nothing much for her to do except go to the nursery. Um, so home life growing up was learning later. I was basically raised by a mental narcissist and an emotional narcissist, so those things are a little bit different. It's not just the narcissist that is portrayed in social media platforms where they're just obsessed with themselves. This kind of narcissism was more like, I have to make everybody around me, especially in the church, have those people think and believe that our life was like so good when it fucking wasn't. So I was spanked by a kid. As a kid, I was spanked by a kid. No, I was spanked by my parents, and usually on the butt. I was, um, sometimes I was put in the corner. My sisters got other punishments. Kim got the harshest punishments. Sorry, my older sister got the harshest punishments. And my little sister usually would get the spoon as a spanking. Um, and every week was a challenge until Sundays. Sundays were the day that we could like go be with our friends and socialize. But we were living in this world behind the doors, behind closed doors, that wasn't really a loving household. And my dad worked a lot, and my mom was going to school. And so my sister and I had to raise our little sister. And at the time, she was going through our little sister. Um, Later, we found out in her around the age of 3 that she actually couldn't hear us because there was a bunch of gunk in her ears. And I know there's a lot of families who have experienced that with a child in the family, and it's a challenge. And it's no easy feat, it by no means. Um, so our little sister was our world, and we became parents at such a young age. For me, it was like around the age of 7, 6 or 7. And for my sister, it began around the age of 10 of being, pardon me, being a mom to myself and my little sister. And so growing up, after looking back on my life now, like there was a lot of trauma that I experienced, and I didn't get to be a kid. I was taught to take care of my laundry at the age of 9, and then my mom didn't teach me about my cycle. My big sister did. She taught me about that and how to put in a tampon and when to use pads and to not to use both at that time. And that was it for learning about my cycle. There wasn't any formal celebration. It was more like a heavy thing, especially in the religious culture and in the Assembly of God culture, also cult. But we'll get into that in another episode of you cannot do anything, was the belief, to trip the man, to make the man fall, to stumble the man, to blah blah blah. So it was all about the man, the white man, and that it was all on our responsibility as women. And at the age of fucking 12, it was a lot of pressure. So I can remember one time I was having a practice for dance, the dance that I did with the tambourines and the white flowy outfits, and I had a stain on my pants, and the like teacher, the head person over the dancers approached me, and she was basically like, "You need to go take care of that." She didn't pull me aside to help me understand. She just was like, "This is disgusting. You need to go take care of that. Go to the bathroom." And so I walked off, and I knew that I hadn't started. It was just a stain that never got washed because I was never taught how to. I learned later in life how to. And I was also the one responsible for cleaning my clothes. And so at that young age of not knowing how to get a stain out, like it was bound to happen, but it was such a shameful moment for me. That was another layer of the inability to know how to separate myself from other people's judgments and other people's wishes of how I should be and how I should show up. There was no grace given at all, no kindness given of just being an individual that may not completely understand what's going on. So I never told anyone what happened that day, not even my mom or my sister or my dad. Not until a lot later in life, because a lot of my experiences I just like took on of like, oh, this is just part of living. This is just what's happening for me, not knowing when would be a red flag of when somebody wouldn't be treating me the nicest. Um, it was like my world, I was just controlled by a bunch of people to not trip the man, you know? It's really fucked up. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention regarding religion. Obviously, in religion, we were taught that marriage is only supposed to be between a man and a woman, but they never talked about in church how to have sex. They never talked about how to be safe, how to say no. It was only ever about pleasing the man and about not tripping up the man. And which reminds me, some fucking creepy ass shit. Here we go. So I think I told you that I started my cycle at a really young age. I started at like the age of 9 or 10. So that's pretty young. That's pretty young for an individual. And a few years later, to commemorate me becoming a woman, my father, and he did this with my older sister too. It was creepy as fuck looking back now. But then I thought like, "Oh, this is normal, right?" No, it's fucking not. Anyway, so my dad took each of us individually when we turned 13, and it was like a daddy-daughter date. And he took me out on my 13th birthday. We went to like a really nice restaurant. I don't even remember what restaurant. And then he took us out to, so here where I live, there's no beach, but there's a lake. And that water is nasty, but people still swim in it. Like that's where our shit goes. And people swim in that shit. They've even found dead bodies. So like it is beyond clean. It is disgusting. It is the shittiest lake and body of water. But it is where people to go in their jets, their boats, swim, especially in the summer, or like go to the beach. Our beach was a man-made, just maybe like a yard, sorry, not a yard, like a mile or like a block stretch of sand, and then people just go out there fish and whatnot. Yeah, there's fish in that body of water and people will go and fish for them. I don't recommend it. Anyway, so he took us both out, but for my experience, I'm just going to talk about mine. But he did this with my sister and I. He took me out to the lake. We sat in the car. He told me about the birds and the bees, and he did it in a story. So my dad loved to tell stories, and he felt like that was the best way for us to understand. And I get that, but like he would make shit up on the fly and have nothing to prove or back it up for reasoning, not even just research, but reasons to explain. He would pull shit out of his ass all the time. And so he was telling me, you know, he used it in the storyline of ice cream because that's my was my favorite thing. It's still one of my favorite things, but not like my only favorite thing. Like he would tell me things in the storylines of food, okay? And he talked about how like your ice cream is a special kind of ice cream and you don't want just anybody else eating it and like talking about it out loud. Holy fuck. If we refer to pussies as ice cream, that's a whole other layer. But we're not getting into that. He, oh fuck. He called my ice cream vanilla. White as fucking shit. So he's talking about my vanilla ice cream and that it is special and it's only to be given away to somebody that you love. And, talking about a man, that I can only love a man and only give my love to one man. Okay? That's where the storyline was coming from. I don't remember verbatim what he was said, but that's what he was saying. And for my older sister, he used the language of like a rose. So there were obvious signs at an early age, looking back, where it's like, yeah, she's probably a lesbian. But anyway, so I left that experience I was nervous the whole fucking time. Just like this felt weird. It was gross. It was disgusting and downright creepy as fuck. If you can see Teddy, he has decided to stand. Every once in a while, he needs to just stand to get his feet to relax. So anyway, um, so that was up until about the age of 13. My parents didn't talk about the different body types of a male, female. It was just like also during that time my mom was going through nursing school, so she just pointed at the book and was like, this is that. There was no no caring, no nurturing involved in that or space to ask questions even. It was just like here it is, just like very blatant. Um and not supportive at all. So, growing up, sexuality, understanding my wants, my dislikes, and my own biology was taught to me through experience. So, even in fifth grade and in Texas, mind you, so I have lived in Texas my entire life. So, that being said, we all know that Texas is known of being very conservative, very Bible Belt, right? And very much where I live, there's a lot of farmers. And so we're in that agricultural location wise. And so the belief system is basically just like God is good. How's it go? All the time, all the time. God is good. And it's always just this passive thing of like, I don't know, but God knows. And not very much a active participants in currently understanding their reality. It was easier to dismiss things to a higher power. Not that there's not a higher power, and I'm not going to say that there isn't, but I'm in a location right now in my life where I am still understanding that and I am unpacking that, also called deconstruction. So, and I'll circle back to that more. Um, so in regards to all of that up to this point, I want to fast forward to when I came out as a lesbian. So let me kind of paint the picture of where things are at that time. It's 2020. So remember, pardon me, in 2020, we experienced the outbreak, COVID outbreak. And in Texas, so right as that hit in 2020, that spring semester, I was at the university here where I live. And it was the week right after spring break. We ended up not going back to school and we ended up just being completely online for classes. But my art classes, I think I had to go in for some, but no, actually, we weren't on campus at all. It wasn't until fall of 2020 that we were kind of in some in person, but not completely. It was like a combination of in person and online, and really trying. Well, the university here really tried to follow the rules when it came to social distancing. But as for the rest of Texas, by that time in fall of 2020, the majority, I think, was just like, you can be with your people and it's your choice to wear a mask. Like, it wasn't like in those public places, there were some people who were wearing masks, and then there were some people who weren't. Some people were social distancing and some people weren't. And when it came to like outside activities, it was like, please practice social distancing with the people basically that you live with, and that's it. So, come the turn of the end of 2020 into 2021 is where that shift happens for me. And so, what I remember is that it was the end of 2020 and it was winter break. So, I can't remember if it was before Christmas or after Christmas, or if it was like that week leading up to New Year's Day. But somewhere in there, I remember being on a group Zoom call with a couple of friends. We were just like catching up, checking in with each other. We hadn't really seen each other in person for a while. I wanted to respect the highest of social distancing rules because I wanted to remain healthy as an individual going through school, college at that, and two, also navigating having asthma and really not sure with upper respiratory things. I didn't want to catch being sick at all because I wanted to be done with school and I was literally around the corner of finishing at that time. So it wasn't until winter of 2021 that I graduated. So like I'm heading into my senior year of college and like I just want to be done. And so we were on a call and I don't remember what we were talking about, but this is also a group of people that I met within a church and like a young adult group. And so we just like really wanted to hang out and talk to each other. But I was the one that really didn't want to be around people because of just fear of being getting sick. Yeah. Thank you for listening, Teddy. I appreciate you. Yeah, you're really good for a buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah. So then there was this moment that shifted everything for me. So I don't know how else to describe it other than this knowing, this coming to an understanding in my inside world, in my emotional body, that, and it started as like, I think I'm bi. Because I literally remember thinking multiple times, like, I do not like a dick in my vagina. Like, that's where the curiosity and thoughts were swirling. And it finally came to this decision moment of like, I do not want any dick. Mm-mm. And so I was like, in that in between, am I a lesbian? Am I straight? I think I'm bi. So like it was just like this swirl, but like I knew I'm definitely not straight. And so on this call, I don't even remember what was going on. I don't remember what was said. I just remember this feeling of like, at the time, the word I would use is like something feels wrong, something feels off, something doesn't feel right in my body. But little did I know in that moment that my beliefs were shifting. My beliefs, which were also able to have this pocket, this safe pocket within the university to be curious, to question, to try on different beliefs. And so in that moment, that belief was really starting to be defined in moving away from the religious belief system of it's only a man and woman. And so I just remember all of a sudden being like, I gotta go, guys. Talk to you later. And I hang up off the call. And I was sitting on my bedroom floor. And just these emotions started to come up. It was a mixture of emotions. It just felt like I got hit with like vertigo emotions. I don't know how else to describe it, but just like this not feeling dizzy, but just like this shift and this change within my body, within my heart, and within my mind of like, I can't hold on to that belief anymore. It's not fitting, it's not working. And I've tried in my own way, even if it was subconscious, but now consciously, this belief is no longer serving me. And so immediately, I go to text my big sister, and her name is Kim. If I haven't said her name already, I don't know if I have, but my older sister's name is Kim. And I text her. And it was at nighttime when this was happening. It was maybe around 9, 10, could even been around midnight. I don't know. Schedules at that time, the sense of time was just erased. So all I remember was that I had my twinkly lights going on in my bedroom. So I had like these twinkly lights behind my bed, which were my favorite, and not like my fan light because I don't like bright lights like that. And I was sitting on the floor and I text her and I say something along the lines of like, I like feel an internal change. Like I don't know what's going on, but all I know what to say is that I think I'm bi and I don't know who else to tell. Uh, Because remember, at that time I was actually still living with my parents. I was living with and my little sister was living with us. So I was under a household that still believed that it's supposed to be a man and a woman only. And so the fear of telling parents is part of this anxiousness that's inside of me. This like vertigo emotional ball of massive change within my brain, heart, mind, spirit, all of it. And so I text her. I think I'm probably bawling my eyes out. And then that was it. And so the next few days, I just allow myself to feel uncomfortable. And I was the type of person that I really struggled socially. So for me to be able to have like a group of people that I was talking to, even though it was virtually, was really, really great. And so at that same moment, I knew I was going to lose those friends because they believed too that it's between a man and a woman. And maybe some of them at that time even questioned that. But up to that point in time, the belief that we all held was like it's only supposed to be through a relationship between a man and a woman. And because that's what was also taught to us. That's how most of us grew up knowing. And so, like, there is this energy of like a divorce is happening, a divorce with my friends, a divorce with my religion, a divorce with even my parents potentially, and other members in my family. And there is a divorce happening within myself of believing something different and allowing myself to believe differently. So I was in this middle space, this space that I didn't understand what the next steps were, but I knew that my sister knew. I knew that she knew, and I knew that I could be safe around her because she was what language I'll use that most of us will probably understand is like the black sheep. You know, there's that story in the Bible of the shepherd going after the one sheep. And I always imagined in that story that it was the sheep that was just different, that was like the quote unquote black sheep. And so that's one way to describe my sister. It's not the only way. She's a multi passionate, multi educational, multi a lot of things. And so she's an amazing human being. And she was that individual in the family that questioned everything and allowed herself to try on different beliefs pretty quickly in life. And so she believed at that time and she was she was a strong ally for the LGBTQ. At that time, it was only to the Q, but now it's IA plus. And now I believe it's also now 2S LGBTQIA plus. So during that time, the alphabet team was short in letters. So she was an ally, and at that time, she was also working with a nonprofit organization that supported the drag queen shows that were around town and a couple hours outside of where the city that I live. And in shows, the drag shows were my only like outside of my reach in my current reality of knowledge, of understanding. I mean, growing up, I had some friends who came out to me, and I wasn't the best person. I was that person that was like, well, what does the Bible say? What does God say? I was that person. And so when it came to my experience in that moment, my sister was the answer. And so after that experience, a few days later, I was so backstory at that time, I was also working on becoming a health and life coach through an institution that was nationally accredited. And so I was going to college and also getting this certification. And so, out of the sister loving heart and support that she wanted to give me, she wanted me to host a group session for her salon team at that time. So she owned and still owns a salon, and she had some booth renters at that time, and she was into her own salon business just like a couple years in. And um, so remember that I'm just in like this middle phase of life, and I'm in this in between. And so the next time I'm able to see my sister is right before this moment that I'm going to host a group session for her team to do like um, New Year goals, look back on what happened that year, and we did like meditations, and I just held massive space for them to be able to go within, do some self-discovery, and set some goals. And so that was the expectation going in. And I had all this training and I was ready to use these tools and put them in action with these people. But little did I know that I was experiencing a massive, massive shift in my life at that time. And so I was in my car. At that time I had a little black Jeep Renegade, and I had this moment to be able to pause before I walked into that building. And Kim and her team were on a call, and so they were working on something, they were doing something, and so I actually had a minute to just try to ground myself. But I was also experiencing like all of this sand just being like how the waves move the sand at the shore, and it's kind of messy, and all the sand isn't actually at the bottom. It's wish-washy. The energy is like a messy, messy room, a messy, messy bedroom. And so I was trying to get what felt like, let's put the laundry away, let's put it all back to where it needs to go. But I had just unearthed this belief that is no longer serving me. And so the new belief that I was beginning to understand and being able to put into practice in my life as being and becoming a and becoming in coming into the understanding of who I was as a lesbian, as a queer individual, and someone who's no longer subscribing to the beliefs of what was taught to her as she grew up. And so the sand wasn't going to go where it usually goes. The clothes weren't going to fold and be put away where they normally go. It's like we've moved out of that old bedroom. You've packed up all that shit. You can't put your clothes back in the same location because you're no longer there. You're no longer in that same room, in those same walls, in that same belief system. So you're going to have to learn a new system to put those clothes away, to organize the life. And that organizing needed to begin in my life and just understanding how I wanted to do life. It was a really beautiful moment to be in. and to question and just allow it to be messy. But I am such like an A personality. I am the type of person that prefers balance over mess. I am a spreadsheet person. I am a type of person that could potentially be OCD. I don't know if I fall on the neurodivergent spectrum. Currently working on testing to just see. But at that time, I was trying to control the controllables, and I couldn't anymore, and I didn't know how to. So all I knew to do was to just cry, was to just let it out in the privacy of my own space, of my own vehicle. And so finally, once Kim was done having the conversation with her team and the call and all that, she comes out to my car and she gives me like the biggest hug, like squeezing your best friend that you haven't seen in years, like welcoming your favorite person that you've been away from for a long time. It was that kind of embrace. And it was this embrace of like, I'm so thankful you see yourself now and are beginning to see yourself. I'm so proud that you see this part. I'm so glad that it's a mess right now because it needed to be a mess so that I could get rid of the things that really weren't serving me anymore. And there were a lot of things that weren't serving me. So it was a long journey. I'll say that. So there we are in my black Jeep Renegade, and we were both just crying. It was like a holy moment. It was a sacred moment. It was a God moment, a very spirit led moment. It was a I see you moment. And so finally, I was able to wipe my tears again, dry up the snot, and then she was like, I need to play this song for you, which crystallized that moment. I'm trying to remember the song. It's the song from The Greatest Showman, right? This Is Me. So it's that song where the people who are part of the circus show go into this moment of like rebellion and of no longer accepting the shame other people would give around them, or the side looks, or the disgusted looks, or the disapproval from the others around them. And it was led by the individual. I don't remember their name, but I remember them having a mustache, and their voice was so beautiful. And she had that song on repeat in my car, on repeat. So there we go, crying again. And not that crying is wrong, but in the body, after experiencing multiple bouts of like hyperventilating crying, it's a lot to have to do it again and again. It's like an abdominal workout. It's a full body workout crying. I was meeting with my counselor a couple weeks ago, and she said that she had read somewhere that crying actually helps release, I believe she said, the cortisol in the body. I think that's right. You can Google it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I know it's definitely a C word. Yeah, I think it was. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You can let me know in the comments. But it was this catapulting energy that was like, "Whew, whew, okay." And so finally, once we were settled, I get out of my car, and if you're just listening to this and you're not able to see, I am white as fuck. And you can literally see my emotions. You can probably see how my face is a little pink right now. And in my arms. And I just kind of stay pink, especially when it's really hot. And my face was basically a tomato. There was no hiding. I couldn't hide it that I was in the middle of an emotional moment. But I still walk into that salon. I walk in there and one of the booth renters could tell that there was something going on. And then she was like, "Well, do you want to share?" And I was like, I felt like I couldn't not say something, you know? I was like, here, looking back now, it was another opportunity to practice sharing my experience. Because growing up, my opinion was taught to me, it was taught that my opinion didn't matter and what I had to say didn't matter. And basically that I wasn't enough as I am. So I began to tell them all that had happened up to that point and that I think I'm bi, I'm not sure, but her entire team was so loving, kind, and accepting. Honestly, give it up for all hairstylists who just have that knowing where it's like, I definitely know that this person is different. There's no doubt. And also, many hairstylists are just the ones who are allies to the LGBTQ plus are just so accepting. Not all. I'm not saying all are, and but the experience that I had with the individuals that were there, it was such a beautiful moment for me and such a healing moment. And it was the extra care that I needed that my parents weren't going to give me. It was that blanket of love and security that a child likes and appreciates and needs. And that's what they were for me in that moment, was just a place to be held, in a place to be seen, in a place to be loved. And it was everything that I needed in that moment. And then we went on to have the group session, and it was beautiful, and they experienced shifts in their life, and they helped me hold the shifting in my life. And it was a really long session. I didn't expect it to go that long. We went until late that night, but it was such a beautiful moment for all of us to experience this safe moment in time to want something better, to want something more than what we were currently experiencing in that moment. And I'm truly grateful for them and in the way that they held space for me because that's not always there for everyone. And so I'm truly, truly grateful that I was able to be held and able to be seen. And so that day not only shifted my life, but the ones around me as well. So I'm going to bring this video to a close. And in my next video, I'm going to talk about how that shift continued in my friendships, within my family, close family members, and how I navigated that as my experience continued to come to this understanding that I am no longer that into shifting of no longer being part of the church, no longer being part of that community, and moving into a belief of self-acceptance, of self-love, and self-recognition, and being able to allow myself to want different, to crave love, to crave and desire to be loved, and to also let go of where I was at in that time, that I may not have a relationship right away and how I think it's supposed to play out. And what I mean is like having relationships that were like the desire there was to have sexual relationships, but they never came about for me. And so my understanding of having a girlfriend and being able to love them wasn't just about them filling my needs, but it shifted into, well, how can I fill my needs? How can I take care of me? If we're no longer holding on to this belief that a man has to take care of me, well, shit. Why don't I try on doing that myself? And it began this change that not just shifted and changed what I desired sexually, but it changed the root of my desires to want more and better in all aspects of my life and not settling for what I desired and what I wanted, and to allow that desire to be there, even if it didn't get filled by someone else immediately, and to ask the question, how can I take care of that? How can I take care of little Nessa, young adult Nessa, teenage Nessa, growing up present Nessa? And so we will dive more into that. But may I leave you with this, that wherever you are on your personal journey, sexual journey, religious journey, work journey, wherever you are, that it is okay to want more and different than what you are currently experiencing. And that you can have what you want. And I'm learning this over and over and over and over and over again. And what you want wants you. But are you willing to allow change to occur? Are you willing to allow the change to occur and take place? Because it will shift your life and it will shift all aspects. And we're not just talking about sexuality here, we're talking about just wanting more and wanting better. That you can have that. So, Teddy and I are sending you so much love, so many blessings, and we will meet with y'all very soon. I'm hoping that in my next videos, I'll be able to have my sisters show up. So, we'll see. But bye for now. We're sending you so much love and support. Bye for now.